But Sammy Ray just froze and just listened to everything I said.
Yeah.
Well, I told some different incidents, thinking nothing of it exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty soon she says, Gigi, do you have any more stories? And then you asked me this evening about story, and I couldn't help but kind of chuckle. Because I don't think they amount to anything,
Uh-huh.
because the kids today, am I
Uh-huh.
recording?
Yes.
Because the kids today do not know what I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
because they have not seen
Mm-hmm.
this equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Because we did not have, well, like you mentioned the road work.
Mm-hmm.
Papa working on the road work, making that highway there, working on the highway there at the Evelyn Junction and moving the dirt with his, well, he took his white mules because they were small mules, but they weren't donkeys, they were mules, which is a cross between a horse and a donkey.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, they were little, they just pull a hair out of your hair. They were very strong, and he took them and they used his Fresnel. It was like a great big scoop. Oh, probably yard, 4 foot maybe, but it had wooden handles on it, and Papa would jam that down in the dirt, and the horses would pull it, and as they would pull it, it would bury into the dirt deeper.
I imagine it being like an old-fashioned plow, except having a big scoop on it, right? And it would scoop that dirt out.
Yeah, but it was like a dustpan, but it had sides on it, so it held dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'd scoop that, and they lowered this hill. If you notice, the outside earth is a little bit higher right there at the Evelyn Junction where
On
you
Highway
go.
65, right?
They took that hill down, you see.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would scoop that dirt down into the hollow there where it was lower. And Papa would hold that dirt and hold those. We always tied the what did they call them? The lines around his waist, and he just talked to those horses.
Mm-hmm.
He just talked to his mules. They did what he said, And
Was he working for the county, or was he working for the county, or
it was PWA. What did that stand for? Public Work
maybe
Association.
authority or something?
Don't-
What year was that, do you think? How old were you?
I was probably just about 6
Yeah.
or 7, 6 or 7. I was born in 26, so that'd be 32 or 33, 1932 or 33. I'm just not sure. But that's what he did. I mean, before they poured and it was gravel for a while, and
Yeah.
then before they poured concrete later, made highway through there. It was awful hard work, but
You said his legs cramped?
PWA, Public Working. It was the government financed it.
Probably out of the Depression was a government program to put people to
yes,
work
it
to build
was,
highways, probably.
Yeah, and gee whiz, we needed the money. People were poor at that period in time. Life was hard, really was. But anyway, now as I travel over it.
That's not far from where your farm was, right?
Mile and a half.
Mile and a half down the gravel?
Mile and a half. Dirt, mud, dust, dirt. I don't really remember when they gravelled it, but boy, we really thought we were uptown when we got gravel through there. And then, see, there was no electricity when the folks moved out there. We had kerosene lights we lit. And my folks had they called it a gas lantern, but it had mantles little cloth mantles. They made a nice light, but anyway, if a bug got in the house of a night, a mailer or something, because we didn't have any air conditioning, we had to have the door open. And sometimes when you go through the screens, one of those bugs, flies, might come in. And if they touched those mantles, you was without light because it burst. I mean, it crumbled. And like I'm saying, it was kind of a touch and go time right then. It was pretty rough because that was what they call the Depression.
Yes.
And that's what the word meant.
So was that around, you told a story one time about cutting down trees to feed the cattle, and your job was to hold the end of that saw, wasn't it? 34
and 36, we had a drought. And what I mean is drought. The grass in the pasture where the cows were just brown. It would just look brown like wintertime when the bite for the cattle to eat. So my father would cut down trees in the pasture, in the timber, that would make firewood for winter, and the cows I would go with him. He would take me with him because he would tell me he had a big cross-cut saw that he sawed those trees down with. And it was about 5 or 6, how far am I?
Yeah.
6 foot is not quite, am I?
No.
Well, it was longer than that. But anyway, but he had to draw it back, and he would tell me to just draw it back. Now, don't pull, sis. I'll do the saw. You just draw my saw back so it won't buckle and break. Well, I would go with him, and the cattle would follow us, just like they would follow a hay wagon in the wintertime, because they knew we were going to cut them down a tree, and there was cows that just go in on it and eat the leaves off of it.
So you were probably 8 or 9 years old then?
Me?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to say near 7, 8.
Yeah.
I wasn't very big, but I followed him. And we'd go back like that. And then that tree, of course, was cut down. Well, then he would cut that wood up, because we burnt wood at the house. Folks didn't burn coal, they burnt wood. So he would work that tree up in firewood, and because it'd be dried out, you see, by the time wintertime came, and he would saw by hand again, split it with the axe, because just a lot of hard work back in those days. Those old men worked hard, and then. Well, those years was just absolutely terrible. That's just all there was to it. And my folks had a well in the yard, along the yard fence, that was never known to go dry. And people in the neighborhood would come in with barrels, 50-gallon barrels, wooden barrels, on their wagons with their horses. They'd come in hay racks or something and get water for their house and hogs and stuff, Well, eventually Papa asked him to please just take for the house. He couldn't cut people off from water, but to please not haul for their hogs, because he was afraid the well might give out. And so every morning, it had a great big concrete foundation. I expect it was 9 foot square and about a foot and a half up off the ground. Solid concrete with a wood where the pump went down through. And he would lift one of those boards, planks off where the pump set, and he had a rock tied on a rope that he had washed and cleaned up, and he would drop that rope till that rock hit the bottom of that well to see how much water he had left in it, and it stood 3 foot of water. There was a vein of water under the ground. And out between the driveway and the corner of the front yard, there was when it was so awful dry, maybe it didn't, but most of the time it ran a little stream, and there was another spring. And today you never hear of a spring, do you? Well,
maybe there's more people.
But the water just...
Did he charge the people anything for that water, or did he just...
No.
They didn't have any money or anything,
No,
did they?
no, nobody had money. No one had money. No, Papa wouldn't charge him. And but he was just a good guy.
Yeah.
And then in those winters, we had a lot of ice storms, and my father would shoe his own horses, put shoes on them, like the four-year, what do they call them, four-years? Take their horse to the... Farrier, there you got it. Farrier to get their feet fixed. Well, Papa took care of his own horses, and he shod those horses. He had a team of horses also besides these mules, and he put shoes on them, and the ice storm came, and people's cattle, they had straw stacks in those days because they thrashed, and would blow the straw from the oats or the wheat, whichever they used with thrashing, whichever they thrashed out from the thrashing machine, and they'd be out, it was out in the pasture somewhere in a field or pasture, and the cattle ate that straw in the wintertime and used it for a windbreak. And when came this ice storm, there were cattle stranded at those straw piles, and Papa would go and haul water to them with his horses with the shoes. Otherwise, horses just split their and cattle, the cows, their legs just went out on the ice and they'd go down. So they would haul manure and make a path out of the barn or away from the straw stack or somewhere for the cattle to walk on, because they just couldn't navigate. They just couldn't go. It was some hard years.
Yeah.
Some hard years.